In an age of conspiracy theories, blind belief, and unchallenged truths, few thinkers remain as vital as Karl Popper, the philosopher who dared to say that certainty is the enemy of knowledge. Popper didn't want to build a world of perfect answers, he wanted a world brave enough to ask better questions. He believed that progress, in science, politics, and human life, comes not from dogma, but from doubt. His philosophy was a rebellion against the arrogance of final truths. To understand Popper is to understand how genuine knowledge grows, through the freedom to fail, the courage to question, and the wisdom to know that we might always be wrong. Born in Vienna in 1902, Karl Popper grew up in a time of both brilliance and crisis. Europe was a cauldron of ideas, Marxism, Freudian psychology, and Einstein's relativity all challenged old certainties. Yet, beneath the surface, authoritarian ideologies were rising: communism, fascism, nationalism, each claiming to hold the absolute truth. Popper saw how dangerous such certainties could be. He witnessed firsthand how intellectual pride could lead to political tyranny. From this tension, his life's mission was born: to defend open inquiry against the closed systems of dogmatic thinking. To Popper, the health of any society and any science depended on its ability to criticize itself. Popper's first great insight came not from politics, but from science. He looked at the greatest thinkers of his time, Einstein, Marx, Freud, and asked a simple but radical question: what makes science truly scientific? At first glance, it might seem obvious. Science, we say, is based on observation, experimentation, and proof. But Popper wasn't satisfied with that. He noticed that many theories, especially those that claim to explain everything, could never be proven wrong. For example, Freud's psychoanalysis could explain any human behavior by adjusting its story. Marxism could explain any historical event by fitting it into its theory of class struggle. Such systems seemed powerful, but Popper saw their flaw: they could never be tested. That's when Popper introduced one of the most important ideas in modern philosophy: falsification. A theory, he said, is scientific only if it can be proven false. Science, in other words, doesn't advance by confirming truths, it advances by eliminating falsehoods. The strength of a theory lies not in how much it explains, but in how much risk it takes. A good scientific theory must make bold predictions that could, in principle, be wrong. This idea turned centuries of scientific thinking upside down. For Popper, the hallmark of real science wasn't proof, it was vulnerability. This idea can sound almost paradoxical. We are taught to seek certainty, to find the truth. But Popper reminds us that the search for knowledge is not a march toward final answers, it's a process of constant correction. We can never be sure our theories are true, we can only know that they have not yet been proven false. Science grows through a cycle of conjectures and refutations. We propose ideas, we test them, we learn from failure, and we improve. Truth, in Popper's world, is not a possession, it's a pursuit. It's a horizon that recedes as we move toward it, forever guiding, never captured. This view of science wasn't just technical, it was deeply moral. For Popper, falsification was an attitude toward life. It meant humility in the face of complexity, courage to admit error, and openness to change. He saw science as a model for a free society, a place where no idea is sacred, where criticism is not a threat but a duty. In this way, Popper's philosophy became a defense of democracy itself. This brings us to Popper's other masterpiece, The Open Society and Its Enemies. Written during World War II, when fascism and communism were tearing the world apart, the book was Popper's passionate defense of liberal democracy, not as a perfect system, but as the best framework humanity has for self-correction. He argued that all totalitarian systems, from Plato's ideal republic to Marx's utopia, share a fatal flaw: they believe they can predict and control the course of history. Popper called this belief historicist thinking, the illusion that history follows laws that can be discovered and mastered. Against this, Popper proposed something revolutionary: history has no fixed destiny, only human choices. For Popper, an open society is one that accepts uncertainty, where people are free to criticize leaders, question traditions, and challenge authority. Its strength lies not in unity of thought, but in diversity of ideas. Its progress comes not from perfect planning, but from the ability to learn from mistakes. In an open society, even the most powerful must be accountable, because no one has a monopoly on truth. This idea, born in the shadow of tyranny, remains one of the most urgent lessons of our time. Popper saw that the real danger to freedom is certainty, the conviction that we know what's best for everyone. The moment a government or ideology claims absolute knowledge, it begins to silence those who disagree. Totalitarianism, he argued, is not just a political system, it's a mindset. It begins wherever questioning ends. The open society, by contrast, thrives on doubt, dialogue, and debate. Its foundation is not faith in authority, but trust in the process of criticism itself. That's why Popper said, "We may not know the truth, but we can distinguish better from worse." Progress depends on that distinction, the willingness to be wrong today to be wiser tomorrow. Let's pause for a moment and reflect on how revolutionary this was. Popper was telling us that human knowledge, whether scientific or moral, is always tentative. There is no final theory of everything, no perfect ideology, no flawless leader. And yet, this uncertainty is not our weakness, it is our greatest strength. It means that we can grow, adapt, and improve. The closed mind seeks certainty and finds stagnation. The open mind accepts uncertainty and finds progress. In modern times, Popper's ideas feel almost prophetic. He warned about pseudoscience, where people use impressive words but make unfalsifiable claims. He also warned about political dogma, where leaders pretend to have historical laws on their side. Today, we can add another danger, the algorithmic echo chamber, where people are fed only the ideas that confirm what they already believe. The digital age, in many ways, is a test of Popper's open society. Will we still value open debate, or will we retreat into ideological bubbles that feel safe but shrink our minds? Popper would tell us, a society that cannot tolerate criticism is already walking toward tyranny. Another vital insight from Popper is his belief in piecemeal social engineering. He rejected grand revolutions and utopian plans to reshape the world overnight. He had seen too many of them end in disaster. Instead, he proposed small, testable reforms, social experiments that can be improved or abandoned based on their results. Just as science grows through trial and error, society, too, should evolve through gradual improvement, not total upheaval. This humility in policymaking is what separates open societies from totalitarian ones. It's not about perfection, it's about progress without violence. At the heart of Popper's philosophy is a deep respect for human fallibility. To be human is to err, and that is not a tragedy but an opportunity. Each mistake brings us closer to truth if we are honest enough to learn from it. That's why Popper admired scientists like Einstein, who didn't cling to their theories but invited criticism. He believed that the true mark of intelligence is not how right you are, but how ready you are to be proven wrong. This attitude, he argued, should guide not just laboratories, but governments, schools, and everyday life. So what does all this mean for us today? It means that to live well, intellectually, morally, politically, we must embrace critical thinking as a way of life. We must resist the temptation of certainty, whether it comes from ideology, religion, or technology. We must value freedom not as the right to believe anything, but as the responsibility to question everything. Popper's vision of the open society is not utopia, it's a living process of discovery, one that depends on our courage to confront error and our humility to admit it. And perhaps most importantly, Popper teaches us that knowledge without openness becomes tyranny. Whether it's a scientific theory treated as gospel or a political system that silences dissent, all closed systems share the same flaw: they stop listening. The cure is criticism, and the heart of criticism is respect for reason, for evidence, and for the voices that dare to disagree. As Popper said, I may be wrong, and you may be right, and by an effort, we may get nearer to the truth. That single sentence contains the spirit of every free society and every honest science. In a world filled with loud certainty and blind loyalty, Popper's philosophy feels like a whisper of reason. He reminds us that to be open is not to be weak, but to be wise. That progress is not found in conviction, but in correction. That truth, though never final, is worth pursuing, because without it, we are left only with power. Karl Popper didn't just give us a philosophy of science. He gave us a philosophy of freedom, one that begins not with knowing, but with questioning. His legacy is a call to remain open, curious, and humble in a world that rewards arrogance. The open society, after all, is not just a political ideal, it's a way of being human. Because in the end, it's not certainty that saves us, it's the courage to say, I might be wrong. And in that humble admission lies the beginning of all wisdom.